Well, hello, it's me. It's Tanya here. How are you?
Right.
Okay, so today I'm going to do another one of these, and I thought I'd share the process of it because, I was shooting them and turning them into 1-minute videos. And I thought maybe this is something you're doing at home. Maybe it's something you want to try out. Maybe it's something you want to play with, which is what my channel is all about. So I thought, let's video record it and I'll do some notes and we can share the experience together. And if you try it out, let me know. If you enjoy it, give me a thumbs up. It really helps me as a new channel to get this out seen to more people. Or maybe someone who's feeling down in the dumps and to pull out some paints and just goof around can really lift your mood. So yeah, please share. Okay, so that's that for the start, and let's get ready to paint. Boop. Okay, so this is the dude we're going to paint today. You can choose any face that you want. You can sketch it. You can find something copyright-free photos or print it out and do a tracing with graphite. Whatever works, just for fun and for playtime. We're going to begin by making up some mid-tone skin colors with my favorite palette here. And I'm going to use the Core Golden Ochre. You can use any ochre you like. It works beautifully. And with the Dioxizine Purple by Core. And it makes this really beautiful mid-tone skin with a bit of a caramel undertone. And then I'm going to add some other colors like a brilliant blue violet and perhaps some Hamsa yellow for a cooler tone. And feel free to mix whatever colors you like. I'm just sharing the ones that I was using today. Next, I'm going to use my kneadable eraser to lift off the extra pencil. They usually come like this. Grab yourself a little bit of it. It's like gum. And then the stickiness, you can just press down on the paper like that. See? It lifts the color up of the graphite without having to erase too much. Now, why do we do this? Because when you put watercolor on top of the graphite, it becomes permanent. And if you have somewhere like here where it's going to be dark shadow underneath, it's not a big deal. But somewhere, sometimes you want to adjust the way, like I'm not loving how the eyes are, so I'll probably be working to adjust that as I paint. And then sometimes there's extra lines, so basically you just lighten it up. Again, this is totally optional. Next, you might have noticed I mixed up this golden yellow. It doesn't have to be Chromback, or any golden yellow will do. And put a lot of water. Now what I'm going to do is actually use this to create two things for me. Again, totally optional. I like to have a bit of a glow underneath. You'll see in some of my other videos, if I'm doing Caucasian skin especially, I'll put a blue undertone because, and I'm the perfect example, I am see-through. So you can see that the skin has a blue tone, right? You have blue, you have pink, you have yellow, and that combination is what creates lifelike looking skin. So that's why I use that for Caucasian skin. For a mid-tone skin or a dark skin, you're going to use different colors. Now this one, I want a bit of a glow, so I'm going to use yellow. And that's step one part of that, why I do it. And the other is because it actually gives me a guide of where my shadows are going to go. And so I'm just going to use it like a shadow. And you're not going to see this when you paint on top of it. I think we're going to give him kind of a bigger lip there. And when you paint on it, the yellow will disappear, but this gives me a bit of a guide. Now, just a reminder to self here too, yellow stains very, very quickly. This is really not the best quality. That's why it's a sketchbook. It was cheap and cheerful, fun to play with, but that means the paper is not super great. It's not 100% cotton, and the sizing is in a way that this is just going to suck up all the pigment, and also it doesn't give me tons of play for lifting off. But the whole point of this is for me personally to get on and just try some new techniques, see if I can do these a little bit faster for myself, see if I can try something I haven't done before. And so that's why I'm using this sketchbook. Your mileage may vary. Okay, let's go into fast forward and paint this in. All right, this is dried up a bit, and as I go into the second layer with the darker brown caramel color, a couple of notes for you. First off, I do a lot of sequences that are in fast forward, so the video isn't hours long. And I wanted you to know that if you look on the top right in your settings, it looks like a little gear icon, you can actually slow your playback speed. So if there's parts that you want to see a bit slower or try to paint in real time, you can do that as well. And the other note I wanted to make was if you forget or you're not sure where the shadows and the highlights fall in the painting that you're working on, grab yourself a picture off of Pinterest or maybe somebody that you know or something that has a light shadow that you really enjoy and use it as a guide. It doesn't have to be the same face you're painting. It's just going to give you an idea of where the light is. So in this case, I want to have the light kind of in front of this person, and so I'm going to intentionally be leaving areas of the forehead, the nose, and the chin, a little bit on the neck, a little bit whiter, meaning leaving the paper alone, so that I can come back later and decide if I want to put more shadow on or not, or leave that as the highlight. So it's just a matter of thinking a little bit in advance before you get going. Alrighty, let's speed this up and I'll catch you at the next layer. Now at this point, he's looking super creepy, right? But don't worry, all paintings go through the ugly phase, so no worries. But at this point, I want to create a little bit of warmth. And remember that the more layers you do, the more colors that you put on, two things are going to happen. One, you're going to create depth, and two, you have to be mindful of the colors you are layering and how you're doing it, because things can get muddy very, very quickly. But what I want to do is actually use a bit of Ochre pink, and believe it or not, this incredibly bright color is actually a cool tone, and I like that to balance what's happening here. So very minimal amount. Again, super wet brush, mix it up, get the excess off my brush, and just in the areas where there's already some paint down, I'm going to go in and put this in, and it's just going to lift up the tone ever so lightly, so that so he doesn't look so dead, basically is what I'm trying to say. And we'll fix it up a little bit. So there's a little bit here, maybe a bit there, and so on. That looks so much better, I think. Now, at this point, you are going to begin to play around with the different colors that are on your palette and let them join together, mix things up, see what you can get. The easiest way to think of it is we're going from light to dark, so it doesn't really matter what the colors are unless you want really precise control. But because we're doing these quickly, and this is just a practice to play with the paint, get used to the colors, to get used to the techniques, don't worry about it too much. Just goof around and see what you get. If you want it a little warmer, put warm color. If you want it a little cooler, put cool color. The whole point is to just build layer upon layer and give it some depth. So at this point, I'm going in with more of a chocolatey brown and just building into more tones and putting into the shadows and just slowly building it up. So let me know in the comments how it's going with you, if you're having any challenges at this point, or if you have any questions. And let's put this into fast forward and see what we get. Now, just a quick break here so you can see the texture of the paper. Now, this is quote unquote the wrong side of the paper, but you know what? I like to utilize the entire sketchbook, so there is no wrong side. You can play with both. Now, again, cheaper paper, weird texture, sometimes a little hard to play with, but I think it's kind of working, and I like really what it's giving him a bit of texture in his skin, so I'm just going to go for it. So the point of this was, if you see this, don't stress out about it. Just play with what you've got and keep on going. Look at all of these beautiful pink and violet tones. You wouldn't think that that would create beautiful skin, but it does. There's so many things that go into it, and once you know the secret, it makes a really great painting. Now at this point, let's do the mouth a little bit. I'm going to mock in the areas where there's going to be some shadow that go over top of this color. I'm going to start with where the lips are together. Kind of got that knowing smile. And then a little bit here. Now, a fun trick to give you a bit of depth on the lips is to leave a tiny little bit of a lighter color right underneath. And then that's sort of where the fullness of the lip folds back into the flatness of the cheek. And it will create that dimensional look for you. Again, if you are a little confused and you're not sure, grab yourself a reference photo and use that for the light and the color. He looks kind of cartoony now because I've given him an outline, but it will be filled in. And we're just going to start adding a little bit darker. The top lip, generally, not always, generally, is darker than the bottom. It's just the way that the light tends to hit in photographs and portraits. So that will be happening as well. And again, just creating a bit of an outline here. So this here is one of those things, it's not intentional. There is something in the sizing and it's pulling all the all of the pigment into that area. But you know what? It's working. It happens to be in the perfect place, so I'm not going to get too worried about it. Okay. All right, I'll let that dry up. And then we'll come back in. Now I actually see, before I let it go, that there is a little bit of duskiness here. And so if I put a little bit of this violet, going to create a shadow, very subtle, but also give us that kind of darkness where the lip is a little bit darker up in here. Now remember, these are undertones, so this will have more of the brown color going on afterwards, but right now just putting in this little bit of violet just right on the ends here. That's pretty good for the first level, so I'm going to let that dry and then we'll do the next. Now I've added a little bit of brown to the violet mixture, and there's a mid-tone, and we're just doing the edges, some of the creases in the lips, and just darkening that top lip a little. I like to do the eyes with different colors instead of doing a single flat color, which will make them kind of look dead. Put a couple layers of different color and it gives it a bit of visual interest, right? Even if you're doing brown eyes or darker eyes, you can always use a bit of purple or a little bit of blue. It just gives a little bit of something extra. Okay, I'm going to do some brows and some darker details, and this time I did the combination of the ochre and the purple and added a little bit of the dark russet orange, twin transparent pyrrole orange, say that 3 times fast, but it makes a really nice brown color with a bit of a warm undertone. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so again, we're just building up layer after layer, putting some pigment into the shadows, blending it out a little bit, being mindful of where we want to have the areas that are coming forwards. We're going to leave a little bit whiter, so the tip of the nose, the chin, the forehead. I'm also adding a little bit of detail into the mouth, and the more layers that you do, you can get quite a nice realistic look to it. And so just adding some of the shadow, and you can see that it's knocked it out a little bit. It's not so pink anymore. And adding some color in the eyes, a little bit left on my brush, and that's going on the mouth too, because he will eventually have a browner mouth. And so now we're going to just add a little bit to the eyebrow. So initially we just blocked those in just to get an idea of where we wanted them. Now I'm coming back and making them darker because his hair is going to be dark. And this is where you can add some more texture, you can change the shape of them a little bit, and really you're just filling it in to make it look in a way that you feel happy about. Little details on the nostrils and the nose. And then we're going to move on to the eyes and get some of the finer details happening, also to balance the two of them out, because you can see at one point the left eye is a little bit smaller than the right. So the one on the right is a little smaller. But that's very easy because when you leave the white space, you can always come in after. Another thing I like to do is put a very sheer shadow just underneath the top of the eyelid, and it gives that look like you've got the light coming on the front and it's creating that three-dimensional effect. Okay, that's looking pretty good, don't you think? Now let's work on the hair. I've made a mixture that is mostly the purple with a little bit of the dark pyrrole orange, and of course we've got the quin gold ochre there. And we're going to put that in this area. Let's do that. And I've mixed up a beautiful brownish plum color for the hair. I'm just going to do a couple of layers and give him a little bit of curly effect. And here we go. There's the finished painting. And you know what? I think that he turned out pretty good. And I'm not going to fuss about the hair and make it perfect. It's a little cartoony, but you know, I keep having to remind myself that this is not a professional portrait. This is just my sketchbook, and I'm playing around and doing some fun things. And yeah, the texture of the paper, it's not the best, but you know, I actually kind of like it for this portrait. I think it looks really interesting. So whether you are doing this on this kind of paper or a different kind, I hope that your results turned out quite well. And if you did do it, leave me a note in the comments. You know I'd love to hear from you guys. If you have any other questions, let me know, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Okay then, thanks for being here. My name is Tanya, and I will catch you guys in the next video.